Hi, I'm DKWILL. This is DKWILL Talk About It. I caught a little shade in a text chain that I'm a part of. It's a bunch of guys that got together ever since the Iraqi dinar. And one of the guys posted a short on X, I believe, or YouTube from Zach Recker, indicating that the ETFs were coming on board in October. And I responded, I cleared my throat and posted a couple of my videos that said, no, 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 that's going to happen in November. And then I ended it with, we shall see. Well, we have seen. The ETFs, and here's the video here from 8 days ago, are coming in November. Let's talk about that.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
And the reason I came up with November, it wasn't a swag. And if you have a military background, you know what a swag is, right? I'll just say wag. It's a wild ass guess. It wasn't a guess, okay? There's basis for that. And I'll put the cards up there so you can check them out because now we're going to cover some more information from this article here. XRP News today. ETF filings boost hopes for November launch. We're going to examine this and what some of the implications are, what some of the forms mean, and we're going to continue to support the line of reasoning that no matter what happens between today and the 23rd of November, the launches are going to happen. But there may be another head fake for after the 23rd of November. But after the 23rd of November, there will be no more wait time. It is the back wall. Like I said, look for the cards up in the upper right hand corner. But this article here by Bob Mason, some of the key points is the rebound in the price. We don't particularly care about that for this video, other than the fact that they revived optimism for a November XRP spot ETF launch, and that the US government shutdown delays SEC decisions, prompting issuers like Bitwise to file S1 amendments to fast track the ETS. We'll look into that. And experts predict billions, that's with a B, in institutional inflows once ETFs go live, potentially ranking among top global ETFs. And the article goes on to mention down here that ETF issuers have filed S1 amendments to circumvent the shutdown and avoid potentially lengthy delays to the launch of the spot ETFs. These filings are expected to enable XRP spot ETFs to begin trading in November. Say that again. To begin trading in November and trigger an influx of much needed institutional money. And if you like the content I'm providing, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and then come back for more DK Will Talk About It. Crucially, sticky institutional inflows into XRP spot ETFs could significantly reduce price volatility. Reduced price volatility could boost demand for XRP as a treasury reserve asset, as seen with Bitcoin. Let me mention here, reduced price volatility is not going to happen for XRP at $2 and change, period. Reduced price volatility will happen when it graduates to a much higher level to where it belongs. But no issuer is going to be concerned with the prospects of the type of returns that are anticipated from XRP's price appreciation. The volatility risk is mooted, and I believe that's for public consumption because it's a appreciating asset simply by the burn rate. They're not going to make more. And so the price volatility to get to reassure them for treasury assets, that's narrative because companies are jumping on heavily for treasury reserve assets. Look for the card. That includes Evernorth and the Armada acquisition. The treasury of XRP is happening, and these decoys are not accurate. And it's a sad truth. We just have to sift through the noise sometimes to see what the truth is. Now, this information here on Bitwise Invest files S1 amendment enabling auto effective date. They absolutely did file. Here it is right here. And they did file the S1. It says about this S1, this registration statement shall hereafter become effective in accordance with the provisions of Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933. It also acknowledged before that tons of issuers have filed amended and updated documents over the past days. So keep that in mind too. Bitwise is not alone. And I do recall when going to Edgar, seeing others ones filing. I remember seeing Canary and others who have filed amended S1s. And it's probably in one of the video cards that I'm going to put up here. But these S1s are supposedly allowed for without a delaying amendment. Registrations can become auto effective, allowing them to begin trading after a 20-day wait. Now, isn't it interesting that a 20-day wait would put us right where my video that I highlighted in the beginning of this article talked about, that back wall? And if you'll look here in the description, it says the road to ETF launches is becoming clearer as we go. Looks like November 23rd is going to release the Krakens into the seas of liquidity. And yes, it's quite possible that some could go on before the 23rd. Let's be clear. But the point is, the 22nd to the 23rd is the back wall. And without rehashing what the other video said, I'm going to say look for the cards and go watch the videos. It talks about the 8A filings before XRP spot ETFs can launch after the 20-day waiting period. Issuers file the 8As with the exchanges, it says, to get listing approvals, allowing them to trade on the exchange. Now, I found information that contradicted that. However, the self regulated organizations like the exchanges and FINRA, they all do report as arms of the SEC. So I won't belabor that point. But what they're filing, if we were to go and just do a quick research about that Section A of the Securities Act, as referenced here, and I did some research on that, and it says that it allows a registration statement to become effective on a date specified by the registrant. So, in other words, specified by the registrant, who in this case on this article would be Bitwise. Now, this article also talked about the 20-day delay, and I had to do a little digging, but I did find that filing does actually have a 20-day delay. And that can be found down here because I posed the question: does the SEC have a deadline to respond to the registrant? And it actually did say Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933 does not establish a strict deadline for the SEC to respond to a registrant's filing. Instead, registration statements typically become effective automatically 20 days after filing, unless the SEC notifies the registrant of deficiencies or requests amendments, which could extend the review period. And I had to resort to AI because when I looked at the actual Section 8A of the Securities Act of 1933 and read the protocol, I couldn't find that 20 days. But that 20 days is legit. So in the end, we need to ask ourselves the important question: what does it really all mean? Because they're going to do their best to tell you how you need to think. And I just don't float in that boat, allowing others to tell me how to think and what to look for and what to expect, who are saying it based on authority and not based on evidence. And what I'm presenting to you is evidence to try to tell you how I look at it, because they're going to give you a bearish outlook and they're going to give you a bullish outlook and they're going to tell you what it all means. And here's where I'm at with it. The government has absolved itself of responsibility by letting these registrants and issuers follow the law that's already in place to release these ETFs. But it's a concerted effort. This process is not new to neither the SEC, the exchanges, the Bitwises and the Canaries, and the issuers. They know what they're doing. And now, so what has happened is there's been set up a 20-day period, and anywhere in these next 20 days, XRP ETFs are going to start going live. But they've kind of lined them up, like my prior video said, so that there's no first to market advantage. So in the meantime, the SEC does not have to have any culpability for the churning and the manipulation and the volatility of the price of the assets that these issuers are accumulating. And so there's going to be all kinds of ways to try to fake you out. And eventually they are going to let it go up. They're going to tell you what you can expect in the bullish scenario. Don't even give bearish scenarios your time. Buy the dips when it comes to XRP. But they will give you expectations for the bullish scenario. So, in other words, like here, it says open the door testing the all time high of 366. Many people are going to see 367 and run for the win. Not DK will. It might go up to 7, 9, or 11. Take some profits to be safe, at least take your money out, but don't sell out. Because the whole goal, remember, was to reduce volatility earlier. We discussed that, right? To reduce the volatility so that institutions will be more comfortable in investing in the product. Here it is. Reduced price volatility could boost demand for XRP as a Treasury Reserve asset. The demand for the Treasury Reserve asset already exists. It's on fire. But they buy low and they sell high. So the real question is, how much is XRP worth? Because until it gets there, volatility will persist. But they're going to give you the impressions that there's some settling down. They might run it up to $5 and then let it bounce around at $5 or $9 or whatever number they've decided we're worth and tell you, yep, it's leveled off. It's the opportunities for returns have been diminished. It's less volatile and more dependable, and more companies have their treasury, and you can get bored and sell out. And then they're going to close it off, and it's going to shoot up, and it's going to be way more valuable than you ever anticipated, because that's where this is heading. The ETFs are coming, folks, in this month of November. The back wall is November 22nd, not just for the US and the SEC, but for the globe and for SWIFT and for the ISO 20022 transition. I hope you have seen that here we look for the truth and we usually find it. So make sure you subscribe and come back and listen to DK Will Talk About It. I'm DK Will, and this is DK Will Talk About It. And I talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.